Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Dance Teacher Pep Talk. I am your host, Amanda, and I am so glad you are here. This is a space for dance teachers and anyone interested in teaching dance who is looking for motivation and fresh ideas. As teachers, we spend our days motivating and giving pep talks to our students, and now this podcast is a pep talk just for you. We hope that it helps to ignite new ideas and even work through some deep dance related thoughts before you head into the studio. Thank you for your support, and now let's get into today's episode. Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Dance Teacher Pep Talk. I am so happy that you are here. And if you haven't listened to Tuesday's episode yet, I highly recommend it because this is a part two continuation of Tuesday's episode. So, on Tuesday, we began discussing how to promote and discuss dance in careers with our students. And this is even just for the students who are unsure. Maybe they don't know if they want dance in their future, but talking about it is a great way to help them know or start to explore or think about whether or not they do want to see this as a part of their future. So we went through a bunch of different career paths. And again, I apologize if I forgot any, but I really did try to branch out as much as I could. But today's episode is going to specifically be about choreography as a career path and dance teaching. And the reason why I'm doing this as a separate episode is because over the years, I've sort of created a program for myself and how to approach this with dancers because these are the two careers that I have, and I'm extremely passionate about it. They've been a huge part of my life, and I know that they could also, in turn, be a huge part of my dancers' lives as well. And so, being able to talk about this or having space in the dance classroom for this, I think is so important. A lot of the time we get so focused on the skills and movements that we're teaching that sometimes we forget that we have to connect this, what we're moving and doing now, into what could be for the future. Because so many of these dancers do have interests in continuing their passion and love for dance outside of dance once they've graduated. And for me, I really found my love for dance when my future career paths were taken seriously. I was very lucky to have very supportive mentors and teachers who guided me, knowing that I did want to be a dance teacher and I did want to choreograph in my future. And because of that, I was given great opportunities. And it wasn't just me in my class that was interested in this, but there were other dancers interested in it as well. And because of that, I remember our dance teachers really went out of their way to create opportunities and classes and experiences for us that would further develop our love and ideas for choreography. And there were many opportunities for those of us interested in teaching to take on assistant teaching roles. And so I did talk a little bit about assistant teaching in its own episode, but taking the moment to look at the bigger picture of what is available to us and what is available to our dancers, I think can only just take them further and further. So let's start off today's discussion with choreography. Now, choreography, I think, is so special, and so many dancers have interest in this because it's a way of them expressing their voice in a creative manner that they don't necessarily have the opportunity to when they're just dancing, because when they're dancing they're having choreography set on them, so choreography is always a chance for their voices to be heard. And many studios might offer a choreography class, which I think is amazing. But if your studio doesn't offer a choreography class, there's still a lot of opportunity and space for you to be able to reach these dancers with this beautiful career path. Now, I do want to start off by saying this. I strongly believe in the importance of having choreography and practiced choreography in a classroom setting. And so there are some out there who may look at it and think, oh, it's just a fun throwaway activity, or oh, the kids are just goofing off. This is not important. We don't have room or space for this in our studio. But think about this as an opportunity for them to try it out. So, if you're of the mindset that you're not really on board with it, I would say give it a little bit of a try because one, the goofing off that you might see is actually, I think, just the pure excitement for them to be able to be doing their work or working with others in their dance classroom on choreography. So there's so many ways that you can go about introducing choreography in your class, and one of the simplest ways is just to begin talking about the principles of choreography. I do this in my contemporary classes, and it actually makes for beautiful improv exercises because, all right, let's talk about shape. Let's talk about space. Let's talk about energy and just the different elements that make up choreography. You can take them and create almost a whole year's worth, probably, yeah, a whole year's worth of improv exercises for that particular class. Even when it comes down to like formation, setting a formation for your improv, or doing improvs that require formation changes or shifts, doing improvs that maybe require timing differences. Maybe this dancer starts here and then the next dancer goes, and it becomes almost like a round or a cannon, things like that. So that could be like the most simplest way that you could introduce choreography into your class without taking up a whole lot of time or space. But I highly recommend if you do on occasion have the time and space to do it, allow your dancers to choreograph and set some parameters if you think that would be helpful, because a lot of the time it will keep them on track. So maybe your parameters could include, all right, everybody is choreographing to this song and everybody needs this amount of phrases. Maybe I need to see these particular skills that we've been working on in this class within your piece at least once. Maybe you're doing this exercise in groups, and maybe that means that each person's voice within the group needs to be heard. So, making sure that you're taking turns adding the movement that you're wanting. Maybe you have certain formations you require. Maybe there is a timing that you require. For example, at one point within your piece, you need to have a cannon or something like that. So, you can really advance this as far as you want, and you can make it as simple as you want. A lot of the time, choreography exercises like this are seen as done in groups. So you're breaking up your class into so many different small groups and you're giving the dancers a chance to work with the groups. But if you have the time and space to break that down even further and maybe have the dancers work in duo trios or having the dancers work as soloists and maybe even creating it to become more of like a unit of study. So for me, when I've done this, I've taken 1 month. So say the month of November. And in the month of November, one of the classes is going to be working on the principles of choreography. And we're going to do that in movement practice. And then maybe the second week, oh, wait, backtrack. Maybe the first week, you send them with homework to say, for next week's class, you need to come in with a song that is appropriate in content and language that you are going to create a solo to or a duo trio or something like that. And then at the next week's class, they begin the work with the parameters that you've set for them. And then maybe the following week, they put on performances for each other of this work. I've done so many different choreography scenarios within this unit of study. And so this is just one example of it. But if you're looking for what is the meaning or the value in this, and I would say just try it and see what happens with your dancers because one, it pushes them because they become completely responsible for the work that they're doing. So it's not just the work that you're giving them, but now they're putting their name against it too. And so it adds an added sense of responsibility. It shows the creativity, artistry, and style that that particular dancer is developing. And if it's a group activity, you can see the mesh of that. If it's a group activity, this is a great teamwork exercise. If it's duo trios, maybe it's also just working with different concepts of relation between two dancers, relation between three dancers. In my eyes, choreography is never a throwaway activity because it has so much value. These are dancers that are now getting to use their voice through their movement, and I've only noticed just a super excited, beautiful energy from that in the sense that they are so happy to be getting their voices out there. And maybe you also have dancers that are very interested in choreographing seriously outside of these units of study that you do or outside of these special class exercises you do. And if that's the case, maybe offering them the opportunity to choreograph something for themselves for maybe for competition, or maybe there's some kind of situation or scenario where maybe there's a recital piece. For me, through the years, graduating seniors sometimes have the opportunity to choreograph a piece together for the recital, or they're guided by a teacher alongside them, or a teacher is giving the choreography. So, giving the options can be really helpful too because it allows them to try out this amazingly beautiful, creative side to dance. So, definitely thinking about choreography, thinking about how we talk about it, where we put it into our schedule, whether we are using it just for one class out of the whole year, or if we're seeing different places where we can add it, and also among different styles of dance, too, I think is important. But yeah, I just think there's so much value in bringing choreography and student voices into your space. So now let's transition into dance teaching. And for dance teaching, similar to choreography, I do feel like how will we ever know if it's the right track for us unless we try it? Because we can think these things and we can feel these things and have them feel important to us or feel passionate to us. But if we're not getting the experience or the times to try it out, sometimes we're not really sure. And so I did speak a lot about this in my episode on assistant teaching. So if you want to go back and check for that, I highly recommend you taking a listen to that because assistant teaching is great for dancers that are really interested in teaching dance because they're getting to see not only the dancers, but they're getting to watch you and how you teach and what types of language we're using and strategy and building blocks. I mean, we don't learn how to pirouette in just one day. So, seeing process and all of that is just really so important and can be seen through the assistant teaching journey. So along with teaching is so much of our use of our voice. And so I know in choreography, I said the word voice a lot. I said it's helping them to find their voice. But in teaching, we're actually using our voice. So the voice I was speaking on in choreography is more of like their style, their artistry. But the voice that we use in teaching is very different as well. And so like I mentioned before, how will we ever know unless we try? And so, how will these dancers know if dance teaching is a part of their future unless they give it a try? So, this is something that I've done to help my dancers find their voice. And I've done this now for a few years. And again, just like choreography, I notice an amazing energy with it. But what I also notice is just an incredible side of these dancers that I've never seen before because they haven't been given the opportunity to be up in front of the classroom. So, what I usually talk about is I talk about, or we take a class or a little bit of a class period to talk about dance teaching as a career. We talk about how dance teaching is so much more than giving just a combination at the end of class. We're talking about structuring a warm up. We're talking about exercises that move the class through for safety, strength practices, all of that, skill building, and then, of course, combination. But that is a lot to all take in and to be able to put into practice with your many class of dancers. So instead, we talk about this, and then the activity that I do with them, I usually do around right before we begin recital choreography because there's kind of a lull between holiday time and recital choreography for myself. And this is a great opportunity for the dancers to then be able to use their voices in their teaching. So, if this sounds like a cool program to you, I recommend you checking in with your studio director about setting up this program. And so, what I do, and this is probably a little bit difficult too, depending on your class size, but I usually save this for my upper level. So, like your juniors and your seniors in high school. And then, if you have room for your underclassmen, you could try it with them too. So, with this, what I would do is I assign each of them a different class based on the interests that they have. So, like, for example, if this dancer has a lot of interest in jazz, contemporary, modern, things like that, those are the classes that I would like look at setting up. And I would spread them all out so that, okay, on this date, so and so is going to be in this class, so and so is going to be in this class, so and so is going to be in this class. And it does take some figuring because you also have to work it around their dance schedules and things like that. And that's why I'm saying it's important to get your studio director involved in this as well. But on those days, those dancers are responsible for going into the class that they were assigned beside the teacher that is teaching, and they are giving an age appropriate, content appropriate combination to complete the class. So, for if it's a younger level hour class, maybe they're going in for the last 30, 20 minutes or something like that, 20, 30 minutes. For an older level class, maybe they're going in the last 30, 40 minutes. Okay. And so, knowing that, they're coming in with shorter combinations, but it's their job to deliver the material, to see the dancers in action with it, with the music, to answer questions, and to give feedback on what they've seen. So it's not just about here's the combination and go for it. It's the whole teaching part of it. So if there's a story or a subject matter that they are wanting to start off with, so this combination today is about this, making sure that they're starting out with a clear theme or clear idea, then going into movement, maybe giving tips along the way that go along with the movement. And then after that, like I said, trying it with the music, giving feedback, and answering questions. Because here, they're not only showing their style and artistry in the choreography that they're creating for the class, but they are also speaking, reflecting, thinking about ways that they can reach these dancers as teachers. This exercise to me is always remarkable because the dancers that are in the class always love it because, ooh, they got somebody special today, somebody new to try out. And the dancer that is giving the teaching or the one that is doing the teaching, it just blows my mind sometimes how they do with this exercise. Like I have seen some of the biggest progress and advancement with dancers that I've taught in this exercise. Like I really saw who they were doing this exercise. And I have never been more proud. Like if I think back to like my proudest moments in my teaching, a huge one for me is seeing this exercise put into motion because these dancers work so hard every single day, but I don't always get to hear their voice, their side of things, the way that they process through things. And so when they become the teacher, I learn so much about them. And like I said, I have never been more proud. It is such a beautiful thing to see your dancer become the teacher and to see them take their love and passion and share it in a new way. It's extremely inspiring. And if you're looking even just for a little bit of inspiration from it too, I mean, this is very inspiring. And with this exercise, I should also say that I always make sure to give feedback privately or through email or like some kind of document, like printing it out or something, so that the dancer who was taking on the teacher role knows where they could improve or knows the areas that they did well. So, like if you have a dancer who is doing this exercise and is really soft spoken, or maybe you have a dancer who wasn't asking for questions or things like that, this is great feedback you can give to them. You know, as a teacher, it's important that we project with our voices. As a teacher, it's important that we look for questions and make sure that everybody is with us. And also giving them the things they did well, even down to the choreography, talking about the elements of their choreography that you were really impressed by, because this is such a valuable exercise. If you have someone who wants to be a dance teacher, this is an opportunity for them to find if this is really what they want. And it might even spark for another dancer who's unsure of their future. Maybe they find with this exercise that this is really special and they want this to be a part of their future too. So I hope that today's episode, our part two of dance and careers, was helpful to you, because I just think there's so many ways that we can enrich our dancers' lives outside of the skills and movements that we're teaching, because there is so much more beyond these walls. And this is so much bigger than what we could even imagine. There's a whole world outside of these walls, and preparing our dancers is, I feel, such a huge part of that. And I'm sure that you also feel that way too. So, a reminder, if you're ever looking for other dance class tips or inspiring content, please follow us on our Instagram at Dance Teacher Pep Talk, because we share so much there. And I know today's episode was full of some different exercises and different ideas that you can do with your students, and there is even more available over on our Instagram. Please share with friends and colleagues so that we can get that message of Dance Teacher Pep Talk out there. And don't forget to follow us on the podcast platform that you listen to most frequently so that you get notifications and won't miss out on any of the episodes. I want to thank you all again so much for your listens and for your support. And I hope you have a beautiful day and rest of your week ahead. Talk to you next week.